What if the strangest myths in history were never myths at all? Stories laughed off as fantasy, creatures dismissed as legends, and inventions that were said to be impossible. But what if proof was found? Today, we're looking at myths that turned out to be history, with the lie stripped away. First up, the gorilla. For centuries, the existence of gorillas was considered pure fiction. Imagine trying to describe a giant, hairy, super-strong wild man living deep in the jungle, pounding its chest. Ancient explorers wrote about them as far back as the 5th century BC, but their stories were dismissed and grouped with dragons and monsters. It wasn't until the 1840s that Western scientists finally examined real skulls and specimens, proving that these mythical creatures were actually the largest primates on Earth. For most of human history, gorillas were basically Bigfoot hiding in plain sight. Next, the legend of Archimedes' death ray. It sounds like something straight out of science fiction. According to ancient accounts, the Greek genius used mirrors to focus sunlight and set Roman ships on fire during battle. For centuries, historians believed this was just exaggerated propaganda. But modern experiments, even by shows like Mythbusters, have shown that concentrated sunlight reflected from polished metal can indeed ignite wood under the right conditions. While there's no definite proof it was ever used in war, the science behind it was completely real. This wasn't magic, it was physics far ahead of its time. How about the Amazons of Greek mythology? They were said to be a terrifying society of warrior women who fought as fiercely as any man. For a long time, historians assumed they were just fictional characters created to challenge social norms. But that belief changed when archaeologists uncovered burial sites in the Eurasian steppes. These graves contained the skeletons of women buried with swords, bows, arrows, and clear evidence of battle wounds. These women rode horses and fought in wars alongside men. The Amazons weren't pure fantasy, they were inspired by very real, very formidable warrior women. Let's dive into the ocean. For centuries, sailors told terrifying stories of massive sea serpents rising from the depths. These creatures appeared on ancient maps as warnings, and most people dismissed them as drunken exaggerations fueled by fear. But many of these sightings can be explained by a real animal, the oarfish. Growing over 30 feet long with a shimmering silver body and a bright red fin, the oarfish looks almost unreal. When it's sick or dying, it swims near the surface, its long body undulating just like the sea serpents described in legends. Moving on to a myth about people. European explorers once believed stories of tiny people living deep in Africa were just folklore. But the ancient Egyptians knew they were real over 4,000 years ago. Egyptian records and letters from young pharaohs described pygmy people in fascinating detail. They were highly respected and often served as dancers and spiritual figures in the royal court. What Europeans dismissed as myth was already a well-documented reality in one of the world's oldest and greatest civilizations. Now for a piece of impossible technology. In 1901, a corroded lump of bronze was pulled from a shipwreck near the Greek island of Antikythera. At first, it seemed like a worthless piece of junk. But decades later, X-rays revealed an ancient technological miracle. Inside was a complex system of over 30 interlocking gears. It was an analog computer capable of predicting eclipses, tracking planetary movements, and even calculating the dates of the Olympic Games. Its level of engineering was so advanced that nothing like it would exist again for over 1,000 years. It's been called the world's first computer, lost to history. Finally, the assassins. For centuries, they were thought to be nothing more than a dark medieval legend drug-fueled killers operating in the shadows. But in reality, they were the Nizari Ismailis, a highly disciplined political and religious order operating from mountain fortresses. They didn't rely on massive armies. They used precision, patience, and psychological warfare through the targeted assassinations of powerful leaders. The drug stories were most likely propaganda spread by their enemies. What made them so terrifying wasn't madness, it was their cold, calculated control. These stories were never just myths. They were facts just waiting for the right person to find the proof. History didn't change. Our understanding of it did. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this journey into the past, make sure to like and subscribe for more.